Due to the pandemic, churches have closed and people are no longer able to receive the Eucharist. The faithful parishioners have expressed their sadness, and earlier this month, Bishop Lawrence Nicasio brought the idea of a Eucharistic procession. The whole idea behind this procession was to bring the Blessed Sacrament to people's homes since they cannot physically come to the church. The original plan was to process around Belize City, but this gave the other parishes around Belize the motivation to do the same. Parishes like Our Lady of Mount Carmel in Benque Viejo and San Pedro Roman Catholic Church decided to bring this idea to life. This past weekend, 2 parishes in particular decided to participate in this Eucharistic procession. These parishes include Our Lady of Guadalupe Co-Cathedral in Belmopan and St. Peter Claver Parish in Punta Gorda. On Saturday, September 19th, Father Jordan Gongora from Our Lady of Guadalupe Co-Cathedral in Belmopan led the procession with the Blessed Sacrament and processed around the city of Belmopan. They took their time to decorate the pickup truck with flowers, lights, and the Belizean flag. It was truly a beautiful sight, and the people were so happy to receive Jesus with open arms. The following day, on September 20th, Father Matt Ruhl from St. Peter Claver Parish in Punta Gorda also processed the streets of the town with the Blessed Sacrament. According to Father Matt, the people wanted a procession with the Blessed Sacrament, and so he did it.
The bishop came up with the idea, and that was the people down here, the parishioners, some of the parishioners down here, my staff included, came up and said, we should do that down here too. We should have a procession down here. And I said, well, if that's what the people want, then let's do it. I'm all for it. So it was really the bishop's idea, and we simply followed suit.
So what was the reason behind the procession?
The reason behind it is this. People, in the past few weeks, people have said to me how much they miss Mass. They say things like, my life just isn't the same without the Eucharist. Or, Mass is what grounds me. And they miss it. People miss Mass. And I understand that. I got to tell you, I miss it myself. I really miss celebrating with the people at St. Peter Claver. It's a heartache. It's a heartache to not be able to do that. And so this was just kind of a reminder, let's say. It's a reminder that we are still a community, apart. We are still together. It's a reminder that Christ is present to us, really present to us, and that Christ is present to us not only in the world and through the Holy Spirit, but Christ is still present to us in the Eucharist. He is still sitting in the tabernacle. And on Sunday night, he was with us in the streets, which I think is a particularly lovely symbol.
In a time like this, what message would you have to the community of?
Well, okay. The church, we're 2,000 years old, and I got news for us. This pandemic is nothing is new to the Catholic Church. When you're 2,000 years old, you've been through it all. Okay, so what does this mean for us? How about this? How about the recollection that there was only the Catholic Church when Europe endured the Black Death, the plague. The church was it. That was the only church in town. And the church got through a pandemic that was more murderous than this. 1/3 of Europe died. And what did people cling to during that pandemic? Well, they clung to the church. They clung to the church. That's what they did. They clung to the church. So I think people need to know that the church has endured pandemics before. The church has endured droughts and famines and all kinds of persecutions and all kinds of natural disasters and man-made disasters. The capacity for the Catholic to endure is enormous. And so for us Catholics who've never endured a pandemic or a plague or a famine or a drought, this is a great time for us to say, aha, this is reminiscent of our tradition, because our foremothers and our forefathers endured pandemics, much worse pandemics. So now we know what they experienced. So we are united with our history in a very unique and, I must say, profound way. We are now suffering in a way that those Catholics who came before us suffered. I also want to remind the faithful that life is not always yippee-skippy. And I want to remind the faithful of one of the fruits of the Holy Spirit that people don't talk about. Long-suffering. Long-suffering is, in fact, a gift of the Holy Spirit. It is sometimes translated endurance. So where does endurance come from unless we are taught to endure? Nobody has endurance who doesn't endure suffering. The enduring of suffering is what gives you and me in the church the capacity for endurance. It's a marvelous word, and it is in fact a marvelous virtue, and it is in fact a gift of the Holy Spirit. So what do I have to say to the church today? Patience. Patience. Be still and embrace this gift that God is giving us, the gift of endurance. If you bear it well, it will serve you well for the rest of your life.